Now we're going to ask Dr. Kim if he would talk to us about dialogic humanism and Gulen's alternative to the dialectic humanity.
Thank you so much. I thank you so much for this valuable organization of conference and give me a chance to present my paper. And at Temple University, I'm currently teaching humanities seminar as a core course too. And what I'm teaching there at Temple University is what I'm gonna present today. It's dialogic humanism. But I may dismiss Professor Burke's introduction because I cannot touch the Socrates or Plato's, the dialogue. That's the area of the Professor Soltis area. Yes. I cannot touch, I cannot challenge him.
Quite a legacy there.
But instead, what I'm gonna present is contemporary dialectic humanity, which has been greatly developed and influenced by Hegel, Karl Marx, and currently Samuel Huntington. And before I present my paper, let me very briefly introduce why I get engaged in this Gulen's humanism or Gulen studies. And I have spent over 12 years so far to understand what Gulen teaches. And many of my Turkish brothers, they used to ask me, as a Korean, why you spend so much time to waste your time for what? And what I answered to them is that in 12 years ago, in 1917, in my country, I have to live with Turkish brothers in a house, and pretty often I found them, whenever they watch the films, videos, they were just weeping and crying. And I was really wondering why they are crying, because I didn't understand Turkish and I didn't understand what the Gülen says. I was really wondering why they are weeping and crying. And that led me to go to Turkey to study more Turkish and eventually come to the temple to study the religious approach to the Gülen's teaching. What I found is that I did not only find, I think, why they are weeping the religious experience, but also as the Gülen's many books guided me, I found that he speaks about all humanity in terms of divinity, which means he tried to give hope to the whole humanity for us. And this eventually led me to develop my scholarship on the Gulen's dialogic humanism and further than that. And this is what I'm gonna present today. Okay, it's time to read. And also I thank you so much before I read my paper to the Professor Epic. She saved a lot of my time on love, so 2 pages she saved. First, let me clarify Gulen's humanism, then let me explain what I understood from the dialectic humanity and why I see Gulen's humanism as an alternative to dialectic humanity. As well known now internationally, Gulen is the foremost among the advocates of dialogue in the contemporary world. Gulen sees dialogue as the sole means to rediscover our true humanity in today's world. In this respect, he is an inspiring humanistic thinker. As a humanist thinker, Gülen proposed his one distinctive version of humanism. Like any other Muslims, he finds the meaning of humanity and the value of humanism in the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu life. But unlike a fanatical theology that tends to devalue humanity in favor of God's power, much like the Islamic spiritual tradition as known as Sufism, Gülen regards humanity as the most valuable being on the planet. This is important for my scholarship. I read, as you know, that the religious fundamentalists, what they are doing actually, in my reading, they devalue the humanity. Everything is up to gods. then what is, as many of you already know that, then what is the place of our free will? There is controversial issues there. And based upon that, what Gülen teaches, as far as my reading goes, he teaches we have to think ourselves, because we are not God. We have to think ourselves first to reach to the God. So in this sense, I found, as I will explain some more about his dialogic humanism. And the Gülen sees the place humanity as the most valuable being, as he states in his book. Humans, the greatest mirror of the names, attributes, and deeds of God, are a shining mirror of marvelous fruits of life, a source of a whole universe, and a seed that appears to a tiny drop. And first of all, as the Professor Epic said, introduced, for Gülen, humanity is the greatest divine mirror, which means, as the greatest divine mirror, first of all, according to Gülen, in truth and in God's sight, humanity is greater than universe, including any other thing in the universe, can be, potentiality. And this conviction of Gülen, they eventually led him to his inductive logic toward the equality of all human beings in terms of divine, which means everyone, as long as we are human beings, we are equally endowed as the potentiality to mirror the God's aspect. So we are equal, no matter who we are, it doesn't matter. And here, as Gülen says also, the God's mercy does not discriminate. It allows every human being equally to reflect his manifestation. And therefore, all human beings, irrespective of religion, race, wealth, social status, are equal in their capacity and capability to mirror the divine light. What is more distinguished to only Gülen's thought, Gülen placed love as the foremost, the reflective, the image of divine light. Here it goes. Love is the foremost among the human reflections of divine existence, and humanity is his most polished mirror and object of his one love. It is love that enables one to truly transform his potentiality into reality. And because he protects one from hate and otherwise, only by love can humanism be truly realized. This is what actually Professor Epic said. What I wanted to focus here is that as a divine mirror, all humans are equal to reflect God's attribute. What is most important among God's attribute is the love, because God created all human beings with his love. So we have to reflect his love. That's his distinguished approach that I read. And on this basis, Gülen defines humanism as a doctrine of love and humanity. And as also the Professor Epic detailed, almost all his writings, as I read, try to revive the Sufi traditions, spiritual traditions, because spiritual traditions in Islam, they tend to traditionally focus on spiritual aspect and love. So in this sense, if you read Gülen's any book, you can find Rumi's word there, Emre's words there, Ahmad Shriwindi, Khalid Baghdadi, as heroes speaks of the spiritual giant as heroes of love, tolerance, and humanism. And here, in his famous word, now it became, this phrase became famous, Gülen says, if we can spread globally the Islamic understanding of such heroes of love as Niyaz Misri, Yunus Emre, and Maulana Rumi, and if we can extend their messages of love, dialogue, and tolerance to people who are thirsty for this message, everyone will learn toward the embrace of love, peace, and tolerance that we represent. This is what actually Gülen has done so far. But Gülen does not simply repeat the teachings of the great Sufis, but he rearranged that one according to the conditions and contemporary world. For instance, to address the contemporary world, Gülen makes Sufi humanism pertinent to today's problem, ones that differ markedly from those of the past. Gülen argues that the essential problem today that we have is the loss of true humanism. This loss has caused hatred and enmity to be widespread, closed the road leading to the understanding and tolerance, and generated many beasts who have lost their humanity. Gülen attributes the loss of true humanism to the rise of excessive materialism. Although there are few, if any, material shortages in the world, there exists an inequitable distribution that sharply separates the poor from the rich. And this problem originates from self-egoism of the material-centric mind. And this conviction led him to say again, the only way to disentangle the real and critical danger to human species is to revitalize humanism of love and tolerance, and to propose dialogue as the way to recover our humanity. And in this regard, as many of you already know, that Gülen speaks about Hizmet, and Hizmet is service for humanity. And the essence of Hizmet is the love, to how to spread the love, and in what aspect. But to spread love, or to do Hizmet, or to do service for humanity is not easy way, easy work. It involves your sacrifice and everything, the hardness. In this sense, Gülen explains what Hizmet is in his explanation of suffering. Suffering in this sense becomes, beyond our own spiritual progress, the dedication of our lives to the happiness of others in both worlds and living for others. In other words, we should seek our spiritual progress in the happiness of others. This is the core principle of the Gülen movement. And from my 12 years journey, I can very safely say, if any of you find any member of Gülen movement who angry to you, he is not. She's not. Am I right? And this is the part and partial that I understand Gülen's approach to humanity and humanism. And this is my one argument now. Having observed, having read this Gülen's humanism, I dare to propose the term dialogic humanism as my term. And by dialogic humanism, I don't intend to repeat or react to the discourse on dialogic humanism that traces back to the Plato or further to Socrates, but to characterize the features of Gülen's humanism and to present it as an alternative to the contemporary human problems. In particular, dialogic humanism that represents Gülen is designed as an alternative to the Hegel-Marx-Huntington line of dialectic and antithetical view of humanity, which means, as I presented last year at Georgetown University, I developed that further. My reading for Hegel is really great. I cannot challenge him, you may say, but I do. In the sense that Hegel's approach to humanity is the conflicting humanity. There is thesis, there is antithesis, right? But these theses, in terms of the ideology, is subject to conflict always. So Hegel wrote in his philosophy of history about Africa. His description of Africa is really inhuman. He said that African people is animal, is not among us. Why? They did not develop any civilizational contributions to us. It is us who has to go to Africa to colonize them, to teach them, to kill them. This is his approach. As you read closely, the philosophy of history, it goes like that way. This gave birth tremendously to later philosophers, including Karl Marx. You remember well, Karl Marx's approach to humanity is conflicting relationship between those who have and those who have not, right? And this continues until contemporary world with Samuel Huntington, who has passed the last year. May Allah take him, I pray for him. But according to the Samuel Huntington, unlike the Hegel, who focused on the ideological difference between two entities, and unlike the Karl Marx approach between two entities in terms of the political economy, For Samuel Huntington, religion is important. Religion is the main cause to differentiate, to distinguish, or to discriminate between humanity. You Islam, me Christianity. You cannot be compatible with me. Dialogue, no. It's in nature, it's in the Quran, it's in the Bible. This is his approach. Is that true? As a Muslim, as Christianity? No. So I don't agree with him. And this is what I call dialectic humanity. Plato, Socrates, dialectic humanity is really great, huge, influential to the intellectual, the argument. But unlike them, contemporary approach to dialectic humanity is totally opposite. And I found this dialectic humanity as the main cause, as a core cause of all the problems that now we have. If you see others as conflicting others, to define yourself as superior to others, you individually, you get intruded their identity as well. And as opposite to that, what Gülen argues is the dialogic humanism, very simply, that Gülen's dialogic humanism puts an emphasis on compassion, love-based dialogue against the laws of humanism in this highly materialistic world, providing a humanistic bridge, not conflicting, bridge between the past and the present, the East and the West, rationalism and spiritualism, and between different civilizations, religions, and cultures, and the differences and distinctions between us and others. How many minutes do I have?
If it were left up to me, I would let you go all day. How many minutes? I think we
Just
have.
one.
Yes, we have about 2 minutes left.
Thank you so much. Here, let me introduce 2 minutes, just 2 passages from the Gülen movement. How this dialogue humanism has been practiced in the Gülen movement. First, from the inside perspective, and second, from the outside perspective. From inside perspective, on interview in the Elizabeth George Darga's the academic work, interview states like that way. When they go, here the they means the interview's friend. They go to the place like Russia, for example, the circumstance may be such that it is not even appropriate for them to carry out with their own prayers. They even have to sacrifice this part of their own lives when they go to such places. But this is the desire of Hoca Efendi, Fethullah Gülen, that we should spread the message of love to other people. So they go wherever they are outside, to Korea, to Japan, to Africa, for what? To spread the love, as this statement goes. And in response, what the outsider's observation goes, as many of our presenters already went to the Turkey. Here, the one reverend who went to the Turkey in the part of interfaith trip to the Turkey, and he gives some detailed picture of what he received by his observation in the trip. As I recall that trip, my heart overflows with gratitude to Allah for having led me to encounter members of a movement which is having such an impact on Turkey and other countries. Never have I seen so flooded with love and hospitality as I was on the trip. The sponsors of the trip and the schools we visited, together with students we met, radiate the intellectual acumen and the light and love that are and will be the only means of healing this troubled, broken, and violent world. This is outside observation of the dialogic humanism. Thank you so much.